Points, man. The Patriots and 3 points there.
Well, it could have been. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles played a marvelous game, and New England was in a brawl the whole time, but the Patriots ended up going to 11-0. What are your first thoughts on what could have been the upset, I don't know, of the decade? Who knows, Key?
Well, when I looked at the game last night, boom, first thing that came to my mind is this team was flat. They came out flat, and they didn't catch on until late in the game when they realized, uh-oh, we may lose this football game. Then they started to turn it on. When they needed to score, they scored points. I know it sounds like an excuse, but no good team or no great team goes through a season without a bump in the middle of the road. I don't care if you go to the NBA, hockey, soccer, football, basketball, no good team goes through that, Tom.
Yeah, but I don't know if flat has been the calling card of the New England Patriots under the tutelage of Bill Belichick. I think that they're usually so focused on every single team that they play. I think that it was a marvelous game plan by Andy Reid, defensive coordinator Jim Johnson. They played with integrity. Your players have to go out and execute. When I look for a common denominator between the Eagles and the Colts, who've lost by 4 and 3 to this football team, what I see is playing fast. I think that when you're on defense, playing against that offense,
right,
you have to get to the spots on the field and you have to get there quick. Now, every team's not going to be able to do that because you can't coach speed. You can watch it and see it, but you can't necessarily do it.
Well, what I've saw is that you've heard all year that the Patriots talk about winning the first minute of the game and the 56th minute and the 58th minute and the 59th and the 60th minute of the game. And they preach that to their team. And I think all those 55 minutes in between the first minute where they intercepted for a touchdown and the last couple minutes where they created another turnover, everything else was pretty even during that time. And so they were true to their motto. Finish the game, start fast, finish strong. That was the difference. Turnovers were the difference. Philly had 3, New England didn't have any.
And they won the game. That's, right. I guess that's all it was.
You know, maybe it's a sign for the rest of the league, though. You have a little hope. Have a little hope. You know, everybody at 40, 50, have a little hope.
No. There's one other moment which we showed in the highlights there, the minute or two right before the end of the half. You know, Coach, for sure, that could be a backbreaker or you just go into the locker room like that, and that's what New England did by scoring. You mentioned no turnovers, New England. I don't know if they were flat that long. They knew going in Philly was going to give them a heck of a fight, and then New England probably better off for playing a game or two like this. And you mentioned it, Tom. I think we're reminded of what really, look, Coach Andy Reid, been documented, not been the smoothest of years, and the Eagles, you know, they're back under 500. But Coach Reid, Coach Jim Johnson, and a lot of those players who played in that Super Bowl that lost by 3 to the Patriots a few years ago, you're reminded that there's a lot of heart and a lot of moxie in that team. If they can bottle some of that, they still might not be out of this thing, at least getting in, at least in the NFC. They learned something themselves. We have more in a game later and still to come on this 90-minute edition of Monday Night Countdown. Big Ben Roethlisberger, was Pittsburgh's loss last week a fluke? Or what do we make of all these things? Ricky, you were once so fine. Can you regain the magic? And young and able. Why age doesn't matter for the Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. Plus, NFC Championship game 74.5. Packers Cowboys. We read ahead and react to those 10-1 teams. Yeah, Big Ben warming up underneath Heinz Field. A little wet out. Also warming up, Stuart Scott, not at the post tonight, but calling signals for us tonight in Pittsburgh. Sal Palantonio. Hi, Sal.
Hi, Boone. So thanks a lot. At the confluence of the 3 rivers, we've had a perfect storm brewing all day and into the night. Welcome to a soggy Heinz Field. Sal Palantonio subbing in for Stu Scott. Emmett Smith, of course, you know Steve Young. You guys are going to have to carry me tonight.
Soggy, by the way, is not a fair assessment of what's going on here. It's a Noah flood tonight, so be ready for that one.
Can we get a booyah for Stu out there? Booyah! Yeah, we got so many storylines in this football game. We've got the return of Joey Porter, second coming of Ricky Williams, the Dolphins trying to get a win, the Steelers trying to get back on track. But as you mentioned, Steve, the big story is that soggy field. We want to go down to the field and talk to Rachel Nichols for an update on the sod and the soggy conditions. Rachel.
Well, Sal, the field is going to be a major issue here tonight, and that's partly because it is brand new. They started installing the field just here Saturday night. Well, on Sunday, it started pouring. So the groundskeepers were out here with pitchforks today, trying to poke holes in the ground to improve the drainage. The issue is they never ripped up the old field. They just laid the new field right down on top of it. I was out there before. It is soggy. It is lumpy. You can feel the seams. I just saw the Dolphins trainers. They're putting these 1-inch cleats on all the players' shoes. But Sal, I'm not sure it's going to matter much with this kind of footing.
Soggy, lumpy, that does not sound good. Obviously, we will have bad conditions tonight, Emmett, but let's look at the game exclusive of the conditions. What are you expecting tonight?
You know, Sal, this is the time of the year when the cream of the crop rises to the top. And I'm looking to see tonight if the Pittsburgh Steelers can bury the Miami Dolphins, because the Dolphins do not have enough weapons on the football field to compete with those guys. Or will the Steelers show up and play against the Arizona Cardinals, the New York Jets, or the Denver Broncos and play down to the Dolphins like they did those 13 teams?
Well, this is the time of year, too, Emmett, that you need to start sending messages. And this is the AFC, which has the Patriots and the Colts both looking to vie for the championship game. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's time to start looking like the machine through the end of November and January and in December to get into January, instead of the humanity that we saw last week against the Jets. You mentioned the Broncos, you mentioned going to the desert. In the end, this is a team that needs to prop up their quarterback and send a message to the rest of the league. We are here to play the rest of the season and play great football.
Well, let's see what kind of message the Miami Dolphins are going to send. And for that, we're going to go to Rachel Mickle, to Michelle Tafoya on the field for the latest with the Dolphins. Michelle, obviously, the weather looks like it will be a factor. How much will Ricky Williams be a factor for the Dolphins offense tonight?
Well, he is the headliner tonight, Sal. You said it. And he will not start. Jesse Chapman will start, but he's got that injured right ankle. He's hobbled a little bit. So Ricky Williams will play, and will play maybe a significant amount because of that. Now, we talked to Cam Cameron last night, and he does not have a set number of carries in mind for Ricky. He's just going to watch how both of these running backs handle the circumstances now, handle this turf, and make his decisions as he goes along. Now, the other subplot, three-time Pro Bowl linebacker Joey Porter returning to Pittsburgh, where he played the last 8 seasons. You know, he told me last night he has no ill will toward this organization, has nothing but good feelings. But he said he comes into this game, quote, double-fisted, ready to unload everything he had. He said he's ready to unleash the frustration of an 0-10 season, and where better to do it than on Monday Night Football against his old teammates. Sal, I sort of pity them, because as Joey told me with a smile, somebody's got to feel my pain.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Coming up, the Jets got to Big Ben. Threw off his timing last week. Bill Parcells was at the game. What weakness did he spot in the Steelers? And so much at stake when the Packers head to Dallas on Thursday night. What advantage does Brett Favre have over the QB who idolizes him?
Coming off the field, I look like Mario Lemieux would be skating by any moment now with the Zamboni. Now back to Heinz Field, where the home team is rarely bottled up. They're 5-0 there this season with a Teams at 20 report of the Steelers to Susie Kalber. Good evening, Suze.
Well, good soggy evening, Chris. And 3 major injury notes for the Steelers. Their leading wide receiver, Santonio Holmes, is out. He is suffering from a high ankle sprain. Left tackle, Marvell Smith, he is also out. He's suffering from back pain, and the #1 defense in the NFL will be without their #1 playmaker, strong safety Troy Polamalu, is out with a sprained knee. Now, this is a team that's coming off an embarrassing loss to the Jets, so players say there is no way that they're going to take a Dolphins team lightly, even a Dolphins team that's 0-10. And Ben Roethlisberger told me he almost wishes that the Dolphins had won their game last week, so there would be no chance that the Steelers could be that team to give up a first win. And all of the Steelers agree that one of the most dangerous types of teams you can play is a team that has nothing to lose, and right now that's a Dolphins team. And we all know that at any time a team in the NFL can win a game. But Chris, as Rachel alluded to earlier, the biggest story of the night is going to be the field and the sod. We'll have much more on that shortly before kickoff.
All right, Susan, now where's George Tomo when you need him? By the way, Miami in the rain, the Dolphin, the rain, yeah, just a thought. Meanwhile, the Steelers, they play the Jets, most recently key. Ben Roethlisberger sacked by David Harris. This is Sean Ellis, C.J. Mosley, the nose tackle Dwayne Robertson with sacking Roethlisberger, and in overtime, It was time for cat scratch fever. Mike Nugent to eke that 38-yard field goal over, and the Steelers were shocked. Falling to 7-3, losing to the Jets 19-16. Now, Bill, as you mentioned, you were at the game. Curtis Martin-Day, one of your favorite players, and certainly everybody's favorite, one of their favorites, one of our favorite Martins. What did you see in the Steelers that bothered you, if that's the right word?
Well, I don't want to say bothered, Boom, because you have an impression of a team. You watch them on television, you see highlights, this and that. But then when you get there in person and you have a chance to look at them personally, you come away with a different opinion. I thought Pittsburgh, from the television aspect, was going to be a real fast-moving team, very, very quick on defense, speedy on offense. I didn't see any of that at the Jets game. Santonio Holmes didn't get loose. Willie Parker didn't get loose. I know they're fast. Holmes isn't playing tonight, so that's one fast guy out. I just didn't see any of the speed that I was expecting to see with Pittsburgh, and their pass protection didn't hold up well. These elements tonight will be a great equalizer for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I know you were at the game, Coach, but as you look at coaches, or as I look at coaches when they're young, and I look at Coach Mike Tomlin as a young football coach coming into the Pittsburgh organization, and sometimes you can overlook teams that you should beat. That's my observation. I think that when you look at the Denver Broncos or the Arizona Cardinals or the New York Jets, that football team probably said to themselves, we should be able to beat them, but they didn't understand. I don't know that they were prepared for that, and it was a shocking thing to their system. But I think Coach Tomlin will get them back on track tonight, and we'll see.
Well, you know, I think the key is going to be, and we always go to the quarterback, it's a league of quarterback play. And I think the key for the Steelers, when you watch them, it is Ben Roethlisberger and his ability to extend plays. Yes, they have set plays off play action, but this guy is always outside the pocket, buying time for his wide receivers. He's going to be missing Holmes, but if they can contain him, and I know it's something the Steelers are going to be worried about. You know, the Jets had 9 sacks going into the game. They got 7 against the Steelers. That's something they focused on this week. And if I'm their opposition, I'm thinking, can we get to him early and put it in their minds that we're going to get your quarterback on the ground?
You know what, though? We're talking about, okay, there was a good blueprint, or at least in the one game for Ben Roethlisberger, but Ben's in his 4th year, except for last year where there were a lot of, he didn't give the excuses, but he had some. How is he doing? In 3 of his 4 years, pretty darn impressive. And my point is, other than Brady, Manning, and then Favre, I know Romo was mercurial here, but he's right in that next group. I mean, we ought to start looking at, here's a guy who wins and enjoying what he does out there, and he can do that again with Pittsburgh. And Steve Young alluded to it. Come on, Pittsburgh. They should do like the Colts did on Thursday night, like Dallas did to the Jets key, like the Packers did to the Lions. If you have a chance to stomp on a team, go do it. Still to come, the Dolphins hope that Ricky doesn't lose his rushing numbers. Was it wrong to give him another chance? Dolphins, Steelers, Monday Night Football.
You are watching Monday Night Countdown, delivered by UPS.
Ricky Williams' last game in the NFL. You have to go back to the final week of the 2005 season. That was 23 months ago. Ricky rushed for 108 yards and a touchdown as the Dolphins beat the Patriots in New England. He averaged 140 yards rushing in his last 2 games. Then Ricky was suspended for 18 months for failing another drug test. And now the Ricky Williams saga continues after a total of 5 positive drug tests, a retirement, an unretirement, 2 league suspensions, a stint in the CFL, and now back with the Dolphins again, and he will play tonight.
What factors will determine whether you're ready to play in your mind?
My conditioning and how well I'm picking up the playbook.
Ricky, what are you hoping to see out of yourself in these first 2 days?
Just taking it one day at a time and using these first couple days to get a good gauge as to where I am.
Does it feel like coming home again? I mean, just the football field in general? Does it feel...
Yeah, it feels pretty natural. To get on the field and have it, feel it all come back so quickly is a little surprising.
Welcome back to Heinz Field, everybody. Emmett Smith, Steve Young. Ricky Williams has not played a football game, not carried the rock, Emmett and Steve, in an NFL game in 23 months. What kind of impact, Steve, do you think he'll have in this football game?
I mean, at the end of the day, any coach regardless of the perception, and Ricky Williams brings some perception problems with him, thinks if I have a need and I'm 0-10, I don't care who it is. If he can help my football team, come on. And the thing that Ricky Williams has done recently, he's gone to this kind of the social anxiety. He's dealt with it in rehab. That's the main thing that I think he's dealt with, was maybe is a source of a lot of the problems, and maybe he's in as good a shape as he can be to go be a successful football player. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt tonight. How successful can he be? I think when you haven't run the football for a long time, it's tough, but they say that he's in phenomenal shape. And why not? The 0-10 Dolphins could use a nice running back.
You know, Steve, when I think of the name Ricky Williams, I think of a guy that's very talented, Heisman Trophy winner, come out of college, had a nice college career, and ever since he's been in the NFL, it's been a bumpy road. I see talent wasted. I see he's wasted a lot of players' time and a lot of coaches' time and even the organization's time that he's played for. He also has betrayed the trust of some of this Miami Dolphins football team and the players within that locker room. Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, they all wanted him in. They went on a limb for him, wanted him back on the team, and then he go out and do the stupid thing again.
Well, do you think they want him back now?
Well, right now, they owe him whatever, and it's not going to really matter.
Yeah.
So I really don't know if they really want him in the locker room, but what can you do? He belongs to the Dolphins. The Dolphins have to make a decision, and the decision is to bring him back. There's nothing else a player can do but allow the guy to come on in and play.
Well, let's bring Chris Mortensen in on this discussion. Mort, I know you've been talking to the Dolphins, you've been talking to people around the league. Why is Ricky playing tonight and having such a big role tonight?
Well, I think one of the things that maybe even surprised Cam Cameron, the coach of the Dolphins, although he was certainly told this by people on his staff who'd been with Ricky Williams before, is that this is, according to one veteran coach who's been on that staff, one of the smartest football players he's ever been around. That his ability to understand defenses and what offenses, that he's just a quick study. And you think, okay, running backs don't have to be quick studies. But for Cam Cameron, it was important. So he showed last week that mentally he could also handle. And when you're playing everything coming at, and when you're playing a team like the Steelers, you're going to get thrown a lot tonight. So they felt pretty comfortable that Ricky was ready to go, not just physically, but mentally.
Mort, we hear down in Miami that Sean Taylor, defensive back for the Washington Redskins, has come out of surgery. What is the latest on his condition?
So I just spoke with the Washington Redskins owner, Daniel Snyder. He is down there with 3 other team officials. Snyder told me that they finally have some encouraging news after 6 hours of surgery, and that doctors went in there, start to do some tests for brain functions, and one of the doctors had a hold of Taylor's hand and asked him if he could squeeze his hand. And Taylor did, in fact, respond by squeezing the doctor's hand. And so, therefore, Snyder says, even though Taylor's got a long ways to go, they are now cautiously optimistic, emphasis on cautiously. And Snyder says that this is somebody he's grown very close to, and even though he's still got a long ways to go, it's the first encouraging news we've heard.
Thanks, Mort. That is the first good news we've heard out of South Florida on Sean Taylor. Still ahead, Joey Porter. He was once royalty in Pittsburgh, but now he's on the other side. The always animated Steel City Joey spins our vintage soundtracks. And A.J. Feely made Eagles fans forget about you-know-who. Was it a big deal that Donovan didn't travel with the team? Coach Parcells and Ditka have reached their boiling point.
At PNC Park, right next to Heinz Field. What a great person he was. A great ball player, Hall of Famer, and what a symbol for the city of Pittsburgh. Nice to see they love their baseball there too, but they are really Stillers. Well, tonight's UPS whiteboard breakdown focuses on a defensive back who's certainly made his mark and did it again last night. Asante Samuel, the Patriots.
Yeah, he's having quite a year. And there's a chess match that goes on between cornerback and quarterback. You saw Asante Samuel win this matchup last night. We're going to take a look at the early portion of the football game. Asante Samuel knows he's going to get a good solid rush from his interior of his defense. Ball's going to be coming out quick. He jumps a route. Westbrook is running an out route. Asante Samuel breaks on it. Now, look at the footwork. Look at the plant foot. the turn of the hips, eyes were right on the quarterback, knew the ball was going to come out, makes that play. Here on the outside, he gets good help from the inside safety, but again, looks like this is going to be an impossible turn for him. Plants that plant foot. This is one he could have had. Now, he's jumped 2 routes earlier in the game. He knows that the Eagles are going to be looking to run a double move on him. This is a slant go by Kevin Curtis. The slant, they don't really sell. The quarterback doesn't pump to help that move. Asante runs a much better route than the receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. You see, he's looking right through the receiver to the quarterback, sees the ball, again, the plant foot, nice and relaxed as the ball comes in. The difference in the football game, the first play he made for the touchdown, the last play he makes to prevent a score for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that his play at cornerback was really the difference. Coach said first minute, last minute, those were the 2 plays that made the difference in the game.
One of the many things, Patriots, he was sitting out, not going to come in, season, now he's in, obviously making his mark. Thank you, Tom. Samuel, certainly one of the foils for A.J. Feely last night. Feely played great, though, for Philadelphia. We bring Mort in here now, and, of course, Donovan McNabb had knee, thumb. Will Feely possibly get another chance to start this weekend? The Eagles are at home against the Seahawks.
Boomer, right now I would say that A.J. Feely is likely to start against the Seahawks, even though that has not been determined. But Andy Reid is not going to put Donovan McNabb out there unless he's 100% or very close to 100%. And McNabb went out there with his thumb heavily taped up today, his ankle heavily taped up, and he really didn't throw the ball that well today when he was on the practice field, just out there throwing. And so Feely, remember, Andy Reid's had nothing but good experiences with Feely, and one reason why they let Jeff Garcia walk is they were comfortable with Feely as McNabb's backup, and that game Sunday night, last night against the New England Patriots certainly didn't hurt the confidence that Andy Reid has in Feely for this next game.
Well, that's why he's there, Mort, but, you know, McNabb can speed up rehab in time to get the thumb and the knee ready. He wants to get in there Sunday as well. We'll see how that goes. Well, we know how it's going in Pittsburgh. It's wet, it's soggy. With more on Pittsburgh, let's go back to Heinz Field and catch up with the Steelers, courtesy of Rachel Nichols. Good evening, Rach.
Good evening, Boomer. Well, Ben Roethlisberger is preparing for the Dolphins to put a spy on him tonight, especially since the technique was so successful for the Jets last week. Now, the Jets say it worked because they forced Ben to scramble to his left instead of his strong side on his right. Well, Ben told me he doesn't think he has a strong side. He said it was just a matter of holding on to the ball too long, and he knows he can't do that tonight. He told me you just have to pick your battles wisely. Of course, his coach, Mike Tomlin, was a little more blunt of his quarterback scrambling. He said, there's a fine line between being brilliant and being an idiot. Boomer?
Something, words to live by, Rachel, that's for sure. Joey Porter never one to hold back. Now some oldies but goodies. We spin his greatest Pittsburgh hits and soundtracks.
That ain't gonna work, boy. You ain't did nothing. Talk to me. There go the Huckleberry. What? You make me feel good. Let's ride on 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's ride.
And write this on the blackboard. Do not kick to Devin Hester. Do not kick to Devin Hester. Why do they keep doing it? Bill and Coach Ditka, boiling point on this topic.
You'd be in a bad mood, too.
You're going to be tired of me. Oh, you're going to be tired of me.
All right, here we are with our coaches, Bill Parcells, Mike Ditka. Guys, this popped up in the playoffs last year when the Eagles went to the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs. Donovan McNabb was not allowed to travel with the team. Andy Reid had a policy there. And last night, A.J. Feely played wonderful. Once again, McNabb not allowed to go. Why wouldn't you let a veteran quarterback go be on the sidelines and mentor your quarterback?
Well, I had the same policy when I was coaching, that if you were hurt and you weren't going to play in the game, you weren't going to the game, and the coaches will be supposed to be the ones mentoring the people. You know, if you got players mentoring players, you usually have a problem. Coaches mentor the players.
But if it's a veteran, and you didn't play quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not saying you couldn't put him to use.
I'm not saying you couldn't put him to use, but most of the time, players that aren't going to play in the game are not an asset.
Well, you know, I do the opposite thing. You know, unless you were invalid or bedridden or immobile, you traveled. And you travel because you're part of that football team, you're part of our family, and I wanted you there. And especially if you're a quarterback, I'd want you there because maybe you could say something that would make sense to the guy that's been playing behind you for 3 or 4 years.
Well, what kind of, but they don't have the same focus. I know Andy Reid.
Hey!
They don't have the same focus.
Some guys who start the game, they're uninjured, don't have the same focus too. They're out in the bar all night too. I mean, it happens to everybody.
Well, you got to have control of your team if that's the problem.
You can have control of your team, but it's more important that the players have more control of themselves.
So, Bill, you tell me if you had a Peyton Manning as a quarterback and a Jim Sorgi starting, you wouldn't say
Why do
Peyton?
you have to go to the highest end of the spectrum? Why can't you just say the average player, injured, not going to the game?
All right. Well, the other thing that I think Reed's policy is that the injured player we have all the facilities back home. He can rehab there and get healthy faster.
Or in 2 days?
I had the same policy as Andy Reid.
In 2 days, you get healthy.
All right. Well, we got a split verdict on this one. That's good. All right, Devin Hester, the Denver Broncos yesterday, 2-touchdown lead. Devin Hester returns 2 kicks for touchdowns. Why would you kick to Devin Hester?
Well, first of all, you've got to scrib the ball down the field. You just can't kick it out of bounds and put them on the 40-yard line. People say you're stupid to do it. Now, punting to him, that is a stupid situation. This kid opened his mouth. First of all, he does not know how to angle punt. They don't work on it anymore. So what he did on the punt, they got blocked. They got beat by 3 special teams plays. Kickoff return, punt return, and block punt. The punt that was blocked, he turned right into the free man and punted right into the guy that was coming. If he punts it straight ahead or to the left, they don't block it. So the kicker, he ought to be knocked on his back.
I'm with Mike. I never saw anything like that block punt. Right. I mean, he had no awareness of where the rush was. I mean, I never saw anything like it. But me, kicking to him, I don't want to give it to him on the 40 either, but you don't have to hit me in the face with that skunk too many more times. I smell it.
Now,
I'd kick it out of bounds.
Coach, you blame Coach.
You say hit me in the face with it. You say hit me in the face with that skunk. I love that. I never heard that one before.
It's great, Coach. Now you're blaming Sauerbrunn, but I mean it's a coaching. I mean the coach controls the player, the punter, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he doesn't control the punter's leg. I mean the punter's leg. You got to understand. Like Bill said, he had no awareness. The first thing your punter do when you come up here, you teach the guy, hey, you look and see where's the potential rush coming from. This guy just walked in off the outside guy and came and he turned and kicked it right into him. I mean, you got to see that now.
I know this much. When I see a skunk, I turn and run. We're done.
Mike Tomlin at rainy Heinz Field. Mike Tomlin came in. Joey Porter was gone. And tonight, Joey Porter is back in his old stomping grounds. Went to 3 Pro Bowls here with the Steelers. Got a Super Bowl ring. Gave back a whole lot of sound bites. Check this out.
There he go. There go the Huckleberry. There go the Huckleberry. I was waiting for you to walk by. Oh, I've been waiting for you to walk by. Talk to me. Talk to me. You make me feel good. Hey, I'm gonna whoop him. I'm gonna whoop him. Come on, you know better than that. Hey, when you check that play, tell him to check out of that play. You might not want to pick a ball around that corner like that. Woo. Hey, pick your head up. You might be able to block somebody. What? They couldn't block me if he wanted to. That ain't gonna work, boy. You ain't did nothing.
Make sure you go outside.
I'm going outside anyway. The play was stuck in the backfield. Look how far you back. You think you blocked somebody? You lost 5 yards.
God bless y'all, man. You know I just be blowing smoke.
Always, baby. No question, always, baby. I'm playing with you. Always.
Well, of course, the Steelers showed him the door. The Miami Dolphins guys signed Joey Porter to very controversial $20 million guaranteed at Emmett. When Mike Tomlin comes in, obviously, Joey Porter's asking for too much money. He's old, but he wants to clean house. He wants to take control of his locker room, doesn't he?
Every coach that comes in wants to take control of the locker room, wants to put his thumbprint on the team, and no better way to do it than to get rid of a veteran. It happened to me down in Dallas, and now it's happening right here in Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin has done a wonderful job of getting the guys around and falling into line in his system and the way he coaches his team. Joey Porter, like you said, Sal, money was an issue, age was an issue, and also injury was an issue. So they had to move him out, and they wasn't going to sign him back for the money that he was asking for.
And his personality was an issue. That's a huge personality in the locker room. Now, I'm not saying it's negative. It's just a huge personality. So then on the bubble, sometimes that can work against you. The best organizations in football, and Pittsburgh is one of the best in football, always are the ones that are going to cut loose of a player a year before it's too late than when it's too late. And I think that's true for Troy Vincent. That's true for Royer Malloy in New England. You've seen great organizations be able to sustain letting go of one of their star players, having a young player who's been brought up and been conditioned to get ready to take that place. And I think this team is a different kind of team without Joey Porter in the locker room. More stabilized, and for Mike Tomlin, maybe important that personality is not in the locker room.
But Steve, they don't miss Joey Porter because they got Jane Harrison's back. I mean, he is doing a wonderful job right now at the linebacker position. We saw it a couple of weeks ago. He had a big Monday night. Maybe he can turn around and have a big Monday night tonight in front of Joey Porter.
And the Dolphins are still waiting for Joey Porter's $20 million contract to pay dividends. They are last in the league in run defense. Let's shift over to Cam Cameron's project at quarterback, John Beck, the rookie who's making his second NFL start. Obviously, for this team, they are looking against looking back to Dan Marino's years. For 17 years, the Dolphins had one starting quarterback. For the last 8, they've had 12 different starters. Their record in that time, 60-62. This year, they've had 3 different starters, each with the same number of wins, 0. And 135 touchdown passes since 2000, and the 4th fewest in the NFL. Dolphins still looking for an answer at quarterback. Speaking of quarterbacks, we're going to get you prepped for the Packers and the Cowboys Gunslinger Showdown on Thursday night. Why one quarterback may have a big advantage over the other. And finally, the Patriots were tested at home. What did the rest of the NFL learn from the Eagles last night? And where is the New England defense and offense vulnerable in the next couple of weeks?
November in Pittsburgh, you got to be kidding me. Al Gore's right. Global warming. There's lightning? Come on. It's late November. It's after Thanksgiving, but that's the scene in Heinz Field. So maybe the Dolphins try and catch lightning in a bottle. Sunday's best defensive, the GMC Defensive Player of the Week nominees. Obviously, we start with Asante Samuel. Patriots pick early, pick late, touchdown. Patriots held on 11-0. The Seahawks defensive end Patrick Kearney, 3 sacks, an interception, a forced fumble in Seattle's win by a yard in St. Louis. And Vikings, Dwight Smith did it Super Bowl, 2 interceptions, 1 TD return. The Vikes swamped Eli and the G-Men. Tune into Sports Center and vote after the game. Time now for a special full boat, larger than life Queen Mary edition of Read and React. A full boat, we react ahead to the NFC Championship. NFC Championship game 74.5. The Cowboys and the Packers. We get the life rafts, we get the band playing, we get the meals. Here's how the Cowboys and Packers got to 10-1. In case you have a short memory span and the tryptophan from Thanksgiving is still kicking in. Tony Romo, Brett Favre, teams 10-1. Week 1, remember? Rookie kicker, first game, Mason Crosby stills and nashes a 42-yard field goal. Packers beat the Eagles 16-13. Week 1, Dallas. Tony Romo, have you heard? They have a big passing game. Sam heard as they roll the Giants 45-35. Packers, Chargers, Week 3. Brett Favre, Greg Jennings, number 420 all-time, tying the all-time marker. Dan Marino, the Packers win 31-24. Back. And the next week, the record. Favre, 16 yards. Jennings, there it is, in the record books. So is the win, 23-16. How about this play? Week 4, Cowboys against the Rams. Whoop! Ball over Tony Romo's. Whoop! He fumbles it again. It's going to be a 30-yard loss. It's going to be a 20-yard loss. No, it's going to be a 10-yard loss. No, it's going to be a first down. Are you kidding? Cowboys win 35-7. Monday night, Buffalo, Nick Folk, onside kick. Tony Curtis, some like it hot. Recovers it. Nick Folk, 53-yard field goal. The Bills played their heart out, but Dallas snatched it. 25-24. How about them Cowboys? Santana Moss on the reverse Washington. But here's a great play by Corey Williams, the strip. Charles Woodson to the house. 57 yards. Packers beat Washington Week 6, 17-14. Week 7, Cowboys. Chris Canty blocks Ryan Longwell's field goal. Pat Watkins, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Wade with the possession arrow. Cowboys beat the Vikes 24-14. Monday night, week 8, Tom in Denver. Overtime, Favre, Jennings, 82 yards. What a play! And the Packers win it 19-13. Week 10, the rematch. Cowboys, G-Man. Romo to Terrell Owens. The red uniforms didn't work. Cowboys win 31-20. Week 10, Packers, Vikes, Favre. Doink! You know you're going good. Ruvell Martin grabs it, 34-0. Pack. Week 11, Cowboys. T.O. scores 4 times against the Redskins, 28-23, each one a little longer. Week 12, Packers, Lions, Thanksgiving, Favre, 20 straight completions, 31 of 41 for 381. Packers win 37-26. The Cowboys, of course, roll the Jets on Thanksgiving, and they're both are 10-1. I'm out of breath, but neither of these guys are. Favre and Romo, in every just about NFC category, are 1 and 1A. Completion percentage, passing yards to Brett. Touchdown passes 29 times the team record. Romo, passer rating, if you believe those things, it still means they're very good. So Favre, Romo coming in at the top of their games, and both teams obviously are as well. So eyes are on the quarterbacks. Let's start with